It's here. It happened. The Mandalorian is out finally, and we watched it. And we're going to talk about it. This is Sides of Coins, and it starts right now.
Oh dear.
Man, the build-up has been intense. This has been a long time coming. We've been waiting for it for a while, but the day has finally arrived. We're here. We're going to talk about it. Michael's here with us today.
How's it going?
And Angela's producing, and let's just break this down, man. We've got a little baby Yoda here for no reason because we like him and we think he's cute. But that being said,
Is a spoiler alert even necessary at this
we are going to spoil the show that is out on streaming services available for everyone as of midnight today. So this video will go up probably tomorrow morning, and by then it'll be old hat. So everybody's seen this by now, I'm sure. So spoilers, we're going to spoil it for sure. But let's get into it. I thought the episode was at first I was very skeptical, and then there were a few things that happened that really hooked me, and I became very invested in it, and then it all just kind of blew by from there, and then at the end of it I was shocked that it was over so quickly because I've gotten so used to an hour long or more with Game of Thrones and everything like that for that type of media. But that's my real cut and dry version of things. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I think I'm going to have to watch more to find out, because it's both incredibly Star Wars and incredibly not Star Wars at the same time. I was kind of expecting like a Firefly feel, which you said you haven't seen. It is in the same genre as, it's a space western. But we can get more into it. I've pointed out some things that I feel like are very un-Star Wars about it. But the characters and the creatures and the cheesy wipes and the way that everything is very Star Wars. So it's interesting.
No, for sure. Yeah, I thought there were some real highs and some. We can't say for sure if they're lows because it's episode 1 of a show. You don't really know. But Angela, what do you think? Just buzz in real quick and tell me generally what you thought.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Dope. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I definitely thought it was different than some of the Star Wars stuff we've seen before, but I'm kind of into it. Like I like the show format a lot. I like movies too, obviously, but I do like the sort of the shorter episodes kind of thing. It gives me sort of like a Clone Wars feel a little bit. Yeah. Where I just kind of like I could binge watch this show. I feel
for
like.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the exciting thing. I think we've turned a corner with Disney Plus, and it's a really exciting time because now, and I can totally see a world where they'll start referencing this other material like Clone Wars and stuff now, because they're going to be encouraging people to binge it, to go back and watch this stuff. So
it's going to be a less jarring halfway point than like when they sprung Maul in Solo, right? Yeah. There's going to be a more tangible in between Clone Wars. We're already seeing that with certain characters and creatures that are popping up in Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, and so that's a great segue. Let's do that. Let's talk about sort of the first bit. It opens up on this icy, cold world that I don't know the name of.
Yeah, we said it's a 3-act structure, like very plainly. So the first act there with that whatever icy planet.
And whatever that little guppy man is.
Gosh,
I don't know his name. Apparently, he's an actor that a lot of people know.
It was pretty clear that this was a cameo bit, and it was that was the first thing that was like, everything about this is Star Wars except for this thing. It was like they're speaking in Huttese, and it feels like he's a character out of the Orville is what I said. I was like, what is this? It's like, is this like Seth MacFarlane, like right here dressed up in blue? What's going on?
It's funny. That's pretty fair, and that's where I was really kind of rocky about it. I was like, what are we doing here? What is this? But
and you got the Huttese and the Quarrens, and there's fighting and shooting.
I thought that Quarren looked so cool. I know you said you had issue with
his eyes. The CG on his eyes was crud compared to what we've seen before, which is very unanimated, very squinty eyed. They tried to animate it too much. I think it looked bad, but he was only in it for like 30 seconds, so you let that go.
I think maybe I haven't gone over it with such a fine tooth comb, or I don't have the eye for it that you do, but I was so enthralled by the fact to see all these things that were animated and brought to life in such a cool way. Because for better or for worse, a lot of the movies are always blazing new trails. So we haven't really seen entirely too many Rhodians or Nikto or Klatooinians or anything like that since they made their debut. So it's really, really cool to get to see. It makes it feel like a very lived-in world that, you know, we've spent time in. We read about all these species. It's good to see them. So that was awesome.
And my gripe with the graphics, which is always going to be my bit, was the inconsistent merger of CG and practical. So like the speeder bike in that first sequence, the, you know, flaming burning speeder bike, that one was was practical, but it kind of looked like the droid one in the beginning. The cleaner, newer one wasn't. And then when they drive up to his ship and they're standing in front of his ship, it's obvious that the ship in the background is completely fake. But the one that they're standing next to is real.
I'd be interested to see what percentage, because I know when Favreau was talking about Celebration, they were saying they used an insane amount of models and everything is modeled. Not as much.
And if that's the case, it may be a small scale model they've blown up. But I'm saying just based on what you're looking at, it's weird. And then for me also going on later, like the blurgs in the next bit, 100% CG. But the Ugnaught guy, his face was all practical effects and moving and stuff. I love that.
So you just brought up two things that are really, really great. I really want to get into the blurgs, seeing them on this second planet. That's the third planet.
Yeah,
You're right.
I jumped.
Yeah, we did. We skipped the whole. We skipped a lot.
Yeah.
So let's hit the blurgs real quick, and then we'll work our way back. The blurgs were awesome. Seeing, like I said, seeing things that were in Clone Wars, seeing things referenced and brought to life was just a very rewarding experience. And Dave Filoni, I feel like this is the start of many of those moments. I feel like we're going to get taken on many a journey like that. And that's something I'm very excited to see.
I did think that the like learning to ride the blurg thing was a little drawn out for such a short episode.
Oh yeah,
it got a little more attention than it needed, and he wasn't like using the Force as far as we know to, you know, what was the animal mastery or what's the term, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little weird, but yeah, I agree.
I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of like once I saw that it was 40 minutes, you're always like, well, how are we going to spend those 40 minutes? If I had just been watching it, I would have thought it was fine. But
and I still maintain with the blurgs and the fact that there's Niktos on the planet, it's probably Ryloth, but you don't want to.
I'd be interested to see. I don't know for sure, but yeah, it does. I mean, it seems like it should be.
I get bothered when they take creatures and animals that aren't something like a Rancor that would make sense to be transported. I get bothered when they're like, oh, they're on this planet too. It's like,
well,
what?
Couldn't they
like,
be pack mule? I mean, just like take them everywhere. We've brought dogs everywhere.
Yeah, and so for some creatures that's okay, but for like the random blurgs and things, or
that's
like
fair.
if we saw those weird fat cow like pill things
on the shocks, those are gross.
If we saw those on other planets, I mean, they did that in the book too, the Master and Apprentice book when they took They talked about originally it was the creatures from The Last Jedi. The
Fathiers, yeah.
The Fathiers, right? They were racing Fathiers, and then they were racing the lizard things from episode 2.
We're spinning way out of control. Let's
like,
reel it back into.
I hope it's Ryloth.
No, that would be neat. I would love to see that. I want to get back to the Cantina bit first, and then wrapping up from there. What did you think of the Bounty Hunter Guild, Grief Karga's character? Yeah. I mean, awesome. What were your thoughts on all that?
Like I said, so the first character, that blue guy, was kind of jarring, is not a Star Wars character. Everything else was Star Wars, though. The ships were Star Wars, the weird wipes and the characters and all the aliens and blasters and things. My first inclination was, okay, obviously the cinematography is different. It's darker. It's more sepia tone, whatever. But that makes sense for the film. It does make it a little less standard Star Wars, but it was more like Solo in that way, so I was okay with that.
Right, yeah.
But for me, the lack of music throughout was something that set it apart. And I liked the music that we heard. It wasn't Star Wars music, but I liked it was there. And I pointed out later on when there was music, I was like, now this feels more Star Wars. Because it was so plain and deadpan when it didn't need to be for a Star Wars movie. There's no flourishes when they're flying up into space, and there's no, weird things going on when they're shooting and stuff.
To counter, I did like that. Since we're meeting this character, I like that since there weren't any musical cues, you had to judge him on his actions, and it was very mysterious in that way. Yeah. That was kind of neat.
And I mostly just mean it's jarring as being something Star Wars that feels foreign, alien, as it were.
Yeah.
But I can get used to it. So other than that, the guild stuff was awesome. The Mandalorian stuff was
Grief Karga is really cool. And then when we went to, I'm excited to see more of him too. And then I think my favorite bit, you were talking about, it was a slow start, right? I was not in it. I was just kind of like, what the heck's going on? Watching the Quarren get cut in half was cool. But the rest of it, I mean, it's like, all right.
I appreciate it wasn't overly gory too, because it keeps it to be a pseudo family friendly thing, at least so
Right.
far.
Yeah.
It wasn't, blood splatter everywhere. I was wondering if they were going to go that route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. I think we got to get there. Like you said, it doesn't
episode
feel
4,
Star
5,
Wars,
6,
right?
people lose limbs and there's blood everywhere too, but it wasn't even that bad yet. That's
Right.
Interesting.
My favorite bit though is when he goes to meet the client, who ends up being Werner Herzog, this Imperial, right? Like that mystery, the mysterious element of who is this guy, how it plays into the politics of, the Empire and Operation Cinder and all these other things.
Do we know any of this stuff yet?
No. Well, I mean, we have some ideas, right? Because of where Cinder
This is
is, and
post-Cinder,
this is
right?
post Cinder. This is post Battle of Jakku by a few years. So you've got some Imperial holdouts,
But not many.
no, and
they discuss that too. Like the guy tries to pay him in Imperial credits, and he's like, "They're not worth anything."
exactly. So that's where I was hooked. I was just like, who's this guy? What's going on? I've got to know. So that was awesome, and Werner Herzog it was just so cool to hear his voice, and it just fit, man. I was just so into
That's
it. And then they go on that that trip to what we think might be Ryloth, or maybe it's another
You
new
missed
planet.
the Mandalorian enclave thing when he stopped by and got his new
Yes,
pauldron.
yeah, the Beskar. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
Beskar, because that was something that was very present and prevalent in Legends. Boba Fett becomes Mandalore, and the Beskar Gam was so important to their culture in Legends, and it was neat to see that kind of brought back in, and it was brought in
steel, but whatever.
it was brought in Rebels a bit too, about how their iron is very strong, and but yeah, it was really, really cool to see all the importance that was placed on the Beskar, and how he's a foundling, they called it. It'd be interesting to see in that culture what a foundling dictates, because
right. Is he like without a clan or something?
right,
Which
like
may be the case.
how do they get chosen? Because they said it has your sigil showing itself or whatever.
Right. I don't know what that's about.
And it kind of plays back into what was Jango Fett, right? Maybe
Right.
Jango Fett was a foundling and did something wrong, and so the peaceful Mandalorians on Satine's planet, or in Satine's faction, were saying he wasn't a real Mandalorian. So maybe
Right.
that just kind of retcons that angle.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see.
And I think a big portion of this series is going to be learning that. It's going to be learning about what a Mandalorian is and who are the Mandalorians. I mean, that's kind of like that whole sequence right after that when he's trying to ride the thing and the guy's telling him, "Aren't you a Mandalorian?" Or there's like there's several points of this where they're like, in the beginning, they're talking, "Is that this kind of steel? Are you a Mandalorian?" Blah,
I
blah,
thought
blah.
you were a myth.
Right, and then in the middle, when the Imperial's like, "I've heard all this stuff about you," and then it's all set up for like Mandalorian. This mantle means so much, but but it seems like this guy is maybe kind of new or something.
He's trying to
good for
find
his area,
himself
but-
as much as
Right.
yeah.
So I think
It'd be
we'll learn
interesting
a
to
lot
see
about it.
the journey, yeah. And then so then he tracks the bounty down to this town with the help from Nick Nolte, the Ugnaught.
Loved it.
Who has a
Love the
name, but
Ugnaught.
I can't recall. He's got a glamour shot, that's for sure.
Excellent. Loved
But-
it. I was not sold when I saw the trailers and the shots of this guy. I was like, "What the heck is that?"
I liked him.
He was a good character.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan. I have spoken.
Yeah, he had a very, it was like a very Star Wars, weird voice speech kind of thing. It's almost like a Yoda kind of thing.
Another thing I loved they introduced, IG-11 was killer.
Yeah, we were talking about the whole time. We're like, Disney has nailed droids
Yes.
since they.
I mean,
took
even
over.
L3 was annoying,
Oh, I
but they
loved
killed
L3.
her in just the amount of
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Just enough time to make. Speaking of killing droids,
Well, Last Shot was
I-
a terrible, but that's a whole other thing. All right.
I really hope they bring this one back, and he just like
Yes.
has this running, like that one character from Men in Black where they just like always shoot him in the face and his head grows back. It's Tony DeLuise.
That would be neat to
he's just
to
like-
see.
Yeah, because he doesn't like droids,
Right.
so it's kind of like a running.
And now
joke. He
he's
just keeps
got a
shooting this
reason.
guy.
He's got a reason to get mad at him too,
Right.
right? Because he feels betrayed and all this.
I'd like
So-
to know who this was.
Yeah, that's we were
yeah.
talking about the forge of the Beskar, but you had mentioned.
Yeah, her
Michael,
eyes are like the same exact shape as Sabine's from Rebels. I think that's.
It looks very
interesting.
gladiatorial.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
what I was
also.
thinking.
But I think we've seen shots of this actress and this character with her helmet off.
Oh, really?
I think I was perusing the interwebs for screenshots, and I think I've seen her. She has like long curly black hair, and
Oh, I think that's
is that not her? Is that
no,
someone
I
else?
don't think so. I think that's Cara Dune, the Rebel shock trooper.
Okay.
Oh, the lady's
It
name
would make
is
sense since they're like,
escaping
"Do you
me.
never
She's the
take
one
your
from
helmet off?"
Deadpool.
Speaking of which, another thing that they mentioned that they've already dropped Mandalorian lore. Is it true you never take your helmet off?
Yeah. No, it's cool to see all the callbacks, and I think there's going to be a lot more because, like I said, Dave Filoni's running the ship now. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so IG-11 is killer. I could watch him shooting Nick Doe all day. That was hilarious. His self-destruct bit was just genuine comedy. I thought that was very funny.
Something happened right before the guy goes down looking for the toilet and sees all the carbonite stuff. Not the opening and seeing all the guns, which we want to go back and analyze, but he said something where we were like, it was like callback or a reference to something.
Oh, Life Day.
Life Day. Oh.
I love it.
What was that?
So the holiday special, have you ever seen or heard about the infamous?
Oh, I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
It is.
You're better for it.
You've watched Attack of the Clones and you've watched the Clone Wars movie, and it makes those look like The Godfather. It's
bad.
It's
I
bad.
think I seen
George
a clip
Lucas
of it,
offered
once.
to buy any hard
I remember
copies
it being like
available
really
so we can-
cheesy, like 70s, like Christmas special type.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
only on TV air.
Yep.
Carrie Fisher singing. It's
Oh goodness.
So
Chewbacca's wearing
they did a
pants.
shout out to that, which I thought was interesting. I love the callbacks. Yeah. So okay, so let's tackle the elephant in the room, or the stuffed animal in the room, the bounty that they actually go to find. It was so funny because we're watching this and
we're like, where's the spoiler? They said there's going to be some major spoiler, game changing
yeah,
spoiler.
and it was funny because Angela said, "Well, we don't really know anything about species age differently." Earlier, she just kind of said that when we were watching it, and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting. I wonder."
Mhm.
And then you're just bullshitting, and he's just like, "I wonder if it's a baby Yoda."
And then it was a little tube thing, and I was like, oh, what could fit in there?
Yeah, and then sure as shit, it was a baby Yoda.
All right.
And I don't know, man. I'm genuinely confused. I don't know how to feel about it. I think we'll have to see where it goes. But I tell you, it's a risk. It's cool. You know, I won't get burned by knee-jerk reactions to Dave Filoni's bold decisions anymore.
Mhm.
I'm a big Ahsoka fan, and
As
I
long as
wasn't.
it doesn't grow up looking like the Star Wars Rebel Yoda, we're okay. We're okay. As long as it didn't look like that.
No comment.
was pretty bad.
Stylization will stylize, but
Little old green little man.
I don't know, man.
Yoda's cute.
I thought this little yodelet
So cute.
yodelet is adorable.
You said Gremlin or Mogwai, maybe. Yeah, definitely Mogwai.
Yes,
That is spectacular. That
It is.
Now you know Disney did that to sell toys, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that's-
no,
they're to
and
sell toys.
and you know they're just genius because I want 7.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I already had this one, and it's ugly. Like I can't wait to get
rid of all the little
It's
wrinkles.
like the porgs all over again.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
no,
is
they
porgs,
get it,
and
man. They know.
Ewoks, and it's all that all over again. Good for them. They have my money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
So, theory: will it speak backwards? Will it use inflectional morphology, if you want the proper term?
Oof. Wow.
So this was always a theory, right? So if all the Rael Avaros, right? He grew up outside of Coruscant for a few years, so he had an accent. This is Dooku's first apprentice, so he had a weird accent, at least in all the audiobooks, and they kind of said he talks with kind of a southern accent and stuff because he's different. All the other Jedi grew up on Coruscant, so they all have the same accent,
Right.
except for Yoda. Because Yoda grew up on a different planet or something. But if this one doesn't grow up on a planet like that, does it learn how to speak English properly? Or, basic?
Yeah, it's fascinating because he is 50 years old. How long does it take to develop speech patterns?
And better question, how come none of the younglings speak like Yoda if they learn how to speak English from Yoda? Like, come on. They
That's
like have
true.
all the droids like, no, don't listen to him. Just ignore what he's saying. Please don't.
How?
What do
Maybe
they?
I should know this. How early do the Jedi babies start training?
Oh, like right away. They have a nursery and they
Because
start.
like if they learn speech before they start training, then you would think like Yoda's thing shouldn't matter.
In general, and that was a rule, as far as we know, that was established around the time of, Revan. But, yeah, that was...
I love it. I love these chats, man. We go off on tangents, but it's great. This is this is what's exciting, man. We're in the golden age. I can tell that there's going to be a lot more of this, and there's going to be a lot of self-referential content where shows will bring up things that happened in other shows, and they'll encourage you to go back to that well and watch the Clone Wars to find out about the gods of Mortis, and watch Rebels to find out what happened to Maul, and and watch Resistance to find out whatever happens in Resistance. I still got to binge that one now that we got Disney Plus. We'll check that out and get back to you. But I'm very, very excited. We've got so much on the horizon. There's another episode in 4 days on Friday. So, mark your calendar. We'll talk about that. But yeah, this is awesome. We're really excited about it, and I can't wait to talk about the next one with you guys. This has been Sides of Coins, and we'll see you later. May the force be with you. I have spoken. I can't do a Nick Nolte. I have spoken.